The police killing of Minneapolis resident George Floyd has sparked a global response on the killings of black bodies in the United States. Ark Republic has been covering all of the protests, demonstrations, and rallies that have started in Minneapolis, Minnesota, and have expanded around the world. What we wanted to do is we wanted to now give voice to those who are on the front lines, the protesters. And so we have created a roundtable, 3 discussions in which we will hear from the protesters why they demonstrate, what do they want, and what do they see as real change. Part 1 of our 3-part roundtable discussion is dedicated to listening to protesters who are black men.
Noel, coming from Charlotte, North Carolina.
Wordplay from Compton, California, reporting from West Hollywood.
Brother Africa from Newark, New Jersey.
How you doing? This is Dame coming to you from Compton, California.
What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now! What do we want? Justice! When do we want it? Now!
Everybody's doing today. I'm Dame Ruffer, like I said, aka Dame Wild. I am the host of the podcast Uncouth Radio, where we talk about all things important to black and brown people, where we talk politics, frivolous shit, gossip, everything all in one, because we are not a monolith and there's a lot of things that we want to deal with, we want to talk about. So we have the platform Uncouth Radio and Uncouth Conversations, where we do that, and also just started a website called Our Rebellion. And Our Rebellion is about black men going to the site, dropping your own picture and telling your own story. So if God forbid something happens to you like it did to George Floyd, you get to make your own narrative, all right, before the press makes it for you. So that's what I'm currently working on right now, and it's really good to be here with you brothers and my sister, one of my favorite people in the world. It's good to be here with all you guys, and let's get into it. Brother Africa, let's start with you, man.
Sure.
I know mentally, we know that going into this, we're getting ready for the protest, and you getting prepared mentally. I want to ask you guys, what are the things you do to get yourself together? Because I know it's a host of emotions that you have to go through. There's a whole psychological side to it. So what do you do to prepare yourself to get ready to go into protest? Because you have to prepare yourself to go into battle and potentially put yourself in harm's way.
Got you. Now, my family's not like the norm. Like we do this every day. Since I walked out of prison in 2008, we've been immersed in activism in our family. So it's like, this is what we do, and we wait for these moments. These moments are like mobilizing moments where a lot of people come together in one space and then can go try to organize them. But our family, like I said, is unique. We're different. We've been to all the protests, everything that's been done in the city for the last 12 years, from privatizing our schools, the poison water in our schools, every single issue in our community, other killings in the community by police, or meetings, we're at every protest, and we're at every school board meeting, every council meeting. Like that's not the norm. That's not the norm in our community. Our people don't see our survival from that perspective, but our family do. That's the best answer I can give you.
Okay, no, that's a great answer. I want to ask the same question, pose the same question to you, Andre.
Yeah. So, one of the things you really have to do, I come from a faithful background, and my dad's a minister. Personally, you have to do, you just kind of have to, just say a prayer for yourself and whoever you're going out there with. Cover yourself, just understand, that you're kind of walking into the unknown. You kind of know, how you would like things to go, but, all it takes is, one over aggressive, police officer, that's supposed to be, monitoring or, policing the protest. All it takes is one, and it's a domino effect after that, and so what was meant to be a peaceful protest, and we've seen plenty of them, in the past couple of weeks, was meant to be a peaceful protest,
Crazy.
Turns into madness, you know what I'm saying? And so you really just have to make sure you're covered, whoever is out there, you're going with covered, whoever's out there before you get, to the protest, just, say a prayer to yourself, cover yourself, and just kind of know, like, I'm going out here for this reason, but at the same time, at any given moment, it could turn
jump off
from this to this. So just, in some cases have an emergency plan ready. If you're coming in a group, how are you and those people going to reconvene if you get separated, whatever the case may be. just kind of have a action plan in place. Don't just go out there, and just free wing it. Some people like to do that, and if that's the case and it works for you, great. But I always just make sure if I'm going out somewhere, just cover yourself in prayer, do something, just make sure you're mentally, prepared for the unknown.
Absolutely. And I want to pose this question to Brother Africa, because you said specifically you've been doing this, like you and your family, this is your thing, and you've been immersed in protesting and being a part of solutions for a long time. So I want to ask you, with this particular protest, with this particular moment, what is it that we are fighting for specifically? And what are the keys to the things we're fighting for specifically for the people that's watching? So, because I know you talked about mobilizing and organizing. I think sometimes it can get lost in the chaos. So I want you to speak to that. Like, what are we fighting for specifically in this moment for this time?
We're fighting for the same thing we've been fighting for forever, since the 50s, 60s, even earlier than that, self-determination. We could parse it in different ways. We could say, well, what's his name just got killed? Mr. Floyd just got killed last week. So we could say, like, that's what we're using. That's what motivates us to come out in the streets. But every single protest that I've been to, everywhere that I go, organizing meeting, we're fighting for self-determination. And until we actually start strategizing towards that, I really don't see how we're going to accomplish anything. Because we're not out there. I didn't go to a protest to make white people feel sorry for how America treats me. That gets us nowhere. I mean,
Right.
simple gets us nowhere. We have to start dealing with institutional things. And let me shut up before I go too far. I'm gonna talk for hours.
Oh no, I appreciate the candor, man. So I'm gonna pose this question to Andre. If you attended, let me ask you this: what are some memorable moments from what you've been dealing with now? Because you are where you said you're in Charlotte, right?
Charlotte. Mm-hmm. Charlotte,
So you in Charlotte. So that's a very interesting demographic that you're dealing with up there, right? And so I wanted to ask you, what are some of the things that stick out to you in regards to being around and going through this protest in this moment right now?
So really, one of the things that actually stuck out to me, one of the peaceful protests that we actually went to, I think, was this past Sunday, was really the amount of non-Black people that were there. And it's kind of surprising because, this has been our issue since the beginning of time. I mean, we've been battling this for forever. And so, when you're you don't deal with it daily and it's not a risk for you daily, it's easy for you to separate yourself from it and say, well, it's not my problem. So if it's not affecting me directly, I'm not going to worry about it. I'm not going to, get involved with it. But it was just interesting to see how many, just people of all backgrounds, just white people, just some Asians. There was a guy from Pakistan that was actually one of the, organizers for the protest that were actually there, that are kind of stepping in and saying, hey, look, enough is enough. Something kind of has to change. This is ridiculous. That was probably one of the more memorable things that I've seen from the couple of protests that I've been to. And my rap sheet, as far as involvement, is nowhere near as long as some of you all may have been. But just from the few that I have been to, majority of them have been Black led and Black attended. But this particular one, it was just nice. It was kind of just like refreshing to see how many other people recognize the issue and are willing to put themselves out there on the front line and say, hey, look, I might not deal with this daily, but I'm standing with you in this moment. And so that was pretty neat to see that.
Good. Yeah, I agree. I agree 100%. I've been to a lot of protests out here in LA, and it would usually be like peppered with like 80% Black people, maybe like 10% Latino, Hispanic, and then like maybe 10% white, maybe 10% or 5% white.
There's been this conversation about Black people need to be at the forefront of all protests and navigate it, even if it is multiracial. I would like to know, what are your feelings about that thought? And then secondly, it's one thing in terms of physically being a protest, which is a statement. But what does that look like after the protest in terms of involvement of non-Black folk. I'm really interested because what I am sensing is that there's like, oh, I'm in a protest, I'm absolving all my white guilt. I feel better now. I can go back and, you know, be in the suburbs. I'm really kind of hesitant in terms of like if this is actually just momentary, or if this is actually a lifelong commitment of really doing the work.
The average person is not an activist. They haven't really read the book. Our institutions don't really teach them civics, teach them to understand what's going on in society. You're just basically indoctrinated to go through so you can become a worker, be productive in the system. So most of them come out, they see the injustice, but they can't really explain it or understand why this is so. Because from their perspective, like let's say a white person from the suburbs, they don't deal with the police the way we deal with the police. They don't have that kind of relationship with them. They don't see the oppression that we see and that we feel. So to most people, what I know, they just come out to show support, but they don't understand, like going to school board meetings, the council meetings, understanding how these institutions work in our community to take away our schools, to privatize our schools. They don't know that day-to-day, month-to-month actions that go on behind the scene. But once they come out there, that's our opportunity, those that do that work, to bring them in, to teach them how you really impact the institutions and change them. But that's not what is going on right now, right? That's not what usually goes on. The gatekeepers usually get them. Like those who have money, the politicians, they often wheel them in and tell them, if you paint the street, Black Lives Matter, like this is bringing about change. When all those things are just symbolism. They're symbolic, they speak to the injustices, but they never change because the work is never really done to change it. Like the police, they're taking pictures with police, you're marching with police. Their job, their mandate is to carry out these laws that oppress us. And if you understand that, you wouldn't be marching with them. You'd be asking them to change the laws. Right? It took over a week. It took a week for them to charge to charge the officer. They only charged them when people started hitting the streets and burning up stuff. And even when they tried to charge them, they came back and said Mr. Floyd had corona. The first autopsy said he died from corona. He had complications, all kind of goofy stuff that they put in the to say he died, he didn't die from the knee. When we saw the knee. Like, so all taking pictures with the police, celebrating police, saying they're good cops, they're bad cops, all that rhetoric is just rhetoric. I haven't seen not one politician, not one spokesperson for me on the grassroots, because I have no spokesperson. Nobody from the grassroots speaks on our behalf. It is always gatekeepers and like people, artists, poets, athletes, basketball, whatever. These are the people that speak, not me. On the protest the other day, I don't care about bullying and looting. I don't care. That's why I protest. You're supposed to burn this thing down. That you read the history books, that's what everybody said. That's what Malcolm said, Martin said, Baldwin said. Everybody said like people are justified in burning things down. I don't own the property downtown. I own none of that stuff. I think we own 1% of the property downtown North. So when I went to the protest and man, because they were about to take over the precinct in North. They were about to take over the first precinct in North. The same precinct where they had the rallies back in the 60s. I mean the 70s. And when I got there, I saw there was a young kid about a bunch of police officers because they had a line. The police had a line, they had the military weapon on, they had the face mask, they had everything. And there was like hundreds of them lined up. And then there was way more kids, a lot more behind them, like ready for. And I got there because a friend of mine called me and told me kids were dead about to attack the precinct. I noticed one of the kids, his name was Daru. He was about to punch a police officer. Now me that said burn this stuff down and burn the police station down. I stopped in between him and the police officer. And I told him, and I looked him in the eye like, what are you doing? And he started telling me everything that I was saying. The police are criminal, they killed his friends, they abused them. He went on to give me a litany of things. And then I asked him, what you gonna do after you get through this police, if you do get through the police and they don't kill us? What are we gonna do after we take this police precinct over? He had no answer because nobody had organized him. He came out because he was angry and he felt some type of way about the life he's living. And he wants a different life. But nobody has ever organized him and taught him how to be a citizen or how to change things. All they give him is rhetoric. So now when he's at his boiling point, he's ready to kill himself. Kill him because he doesn't understand the consequences. If he put his hands on the police, they were going to kill him. I have no doubt about that in my mind. But we don't organize them. So they just come out because they think it's an event to voice your opinion, to show how you feel about the situation, but they are not organized to understand the people you put into office. Like, I don't even want to say that. It sounds like just liberals. Because, like, voting is just an aspect of trying to change our reality. But they don't understand the organizing part to pick a candidate that you own, that works for you, and not the funders, and not the banks, not the lobby, not the businesses that they try to protect downtown. He doesn't understand how to do none of that. And since then, I've been reaching out to him. Even him and another young female. I've been reaching out to them, trying to show them how to do it the right way.
I will say, to me, and this is just, anecdotal in my personal experience, but to me, this is the first time that I've seen, out of all these moments, let's say starting back, going to, let's start at Trayvon Martin. From Trayvon Martin up until now, because I say that's a 10-year span. This is the first time I have had white people actively seeking me out to do the work. Not just trying to make posts, not just trying to do things on social media. I mean, talking about people actually inboxing me and saying they're prepared and ready to have those uncomfortable conversations. People who at first thought they were doing enough. And then when I told them and it got ugly and they thought I was, just shitting on them because they were white people. And then they come back after the George Floyd, they come back like, I understand. And we need to talk. And a lot of people in my circle have been having those same things happen. So I don't know what turned the tide with this one in particular, because all the other times, whatever happened, that one city would burn, right? Whatever happened, Detroit, if something happened in Detroit, Detroit would burn. If something happened in California, then California would burn. But this time, all 50 states and globally, we have people marching, protesting, and being a voice for Black Americans. And I think we are at a point where we're reaching critical mass of the amount of people who are willing to step up and help us take it to the next level, because this is the first time on a national level that even if you watch mainstream media, if you watch Fox News, if you watch CNN, MSNBC, this is the first time in mainstream media that we have had the term systematic racism, Black oppression used on a national level on the regular, not like once during an election cycle and put away. I mean, like now I'm trying to count how many, like you can damn near do a drinking game now of how many times you hear systemic racism, systemic oppression, or systemic issues with the police department. These are all things that have been ignored by all media, even the ones that consider themselves liberal media. They would not touch systemic racism, not in the real way. And I think at least we're turning a page in that part, because right now I feel like finally we're not the only ones that see it, and we're not the only voices, because as long as it looked like we were the only ones that saw it, it looked like it was just Black people complaining, just Black people blaming this. You know how they like to do it. Black people just blaming it on somebody else.
Could it be the media? Do you think it is all the media? Do you think it's social media? Like, I'm trying to think back. Yeah, they did not speak about this on Mr. Floyd's death, our brother's death, until Thursday and Friday. The media refused to even cover it. I was watching it. I was paying attention. Like, I was documenting on my social platform. I was talking about Obama didn't say anything until Friday. Yo, protest started on Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. Yo, MSNBC, CNN, none of these people were covering it. It wasn't until Thursday night when they started burning everything down that everybody started coming out. Like, it's wall to wall now on social media. Yo, they knocked Corona off the TV. Nobody's talking. They don't even talk about Corona. They don't talk about Trump. They don't talk about none of that. They just went directly. I think social media has given a voice to people that had a voice that didn't have a voice before. Like, nowhere you go on social media, you won't see this story. You go on Twitter. My daughter's on TikTok. I'm not that savvy yet. I'm not on TikTok yet. I'm still on Instagram and Facebook and Twitter. But she's on TikTok and she's talking about it. She came to me, she's 16. She came to me and showed me something like, yo, look at this white girl crying because her parents are racist. I mean, she can see this stuff on there. I think like social media, and that's why they're trying to shut it down. They try to shut our access to speaking out. Like you always see the media, if you watch the news, they say we need to limit social media. We need to control social media. But it really gives us a platform. It gives me a platform. Like I can go on for days talking about the stuff I've done in North. If nobody see it, if nobody hear it, it never happens. With social media, you can put it out there, and people can share it, and it can go all over the world. I think social media impacted that, man.
I don't disagree with that at all. I 100% think.
I agree.
Yeah, 100% think social media pushed this narrative. Like social media pushed it to the forefront because we weren't going to be silent about it. We weren't going to be quiet about it off top. So yeah, I don't disagree with you at all there. I think social media pushed it. But then, and I was telling somebody, I said, if you really think about it, the way that Don Lemon has been covering this compared to the way Don Lemon covered Ferguson, right? Right?
Oh, you mean Don Lemon X?
Yeah, exactly. I was like, I don't know what happened, but the transformation of who he was and how he handled black issues back in the Ferguson, and that's what we talk about, what, 5 years? We talking about a matter of 5 years. He has made a complete full 180, and he's like, for the people that, you know, because at first I used to be like, yo, I can't deal with Don, and then I don't know what happened in that switch flip. Something happened to him, and he's been like speaking that real, like, and he's been unapologetic. So that's what I mean when you say like the media hasn't covered it, like when you get somebody like Don Lemon calling out the Hollywood elites with no shame and with no fear and no break, these, like, we are seeing things that we haven't seen before, and I think that's what gives me just a little bit of hope that this might be something different and something we could focus, because it's a concentrated effort. If you really think about it, this is like the perfect storm. Like you said, having COVID means that everybody had to sit in front of TV, and they had to sit in front of their social media, and they had to see George Floyd. They had to see us. They had to watch us. They couldn't escape. There was no, I'm just trying to live my life. I got to go to work. There was no, you know, I'm going to the club so I can, for that escape. It wasn't there. So this sat, right, and this sat on the consciousness of America. Like, it sat on the consciousness. So even those who have been trying to ignore their privilege for years, even those, and of course, I'm not saying that everybody has had a change of heart, but I've seen a huge turn. The fact that we have 50 states protesting this, and the people are at the mayor's house right now. And you know, usually this will die down after 2 or 3 days, and it'll be business as usual. So we like 2 weeks in now, and there's still protests going on, and they just sprayed Black Lives Matter on the ground in DC heading towards the White House. You know what I mean? To me, I feel like things are a little different, and it's going to be up to us continue to stay focused and continue to push that focus into those things that you talked about, Brother Africa, in regards to starting to, at a grassroots level, start running our own candidates, start getting our people that we know with money, the black venture capitalists and all that, to start putting together our own super PACs so we can have candidates that are ours, homegrown, belong to us, have our best interests at the forefront from the beginning. So it's not like we're asking someone to add us to their agenda, because that's what's happening now with all the people who are in the Senate and in the White House and all that right now. We have to ask them, can you add black people to your agenda? No, we need to have somebody that black people are the agenda off top. Right? And we can't be afraid to say we want stuff done for black people, because I think that was one of the biggest mistakes we made with Barack Obama, was black people took that narrative. He's America's president and not just black people's president. And
but black people didn't take that narrative. The gatekeepers took that narrative. Yo, nobody, man, I can't talk to none of these people. I can't speak to Obama. I mean, they blocked me on Twitter. But yo, Jay-Z don't block me. Yo, everybody blocked me. Like, I don't play. Like, I go right on it. Yo, I forgot what I told Jay-Z. I said, Senator Jay-Z. He was like, but you following me, though. I was like, because how else I'm going to talk to you? I'm like, I'm not going to see you. I'm not in the same space. He like, catch this block. I'm like, I'm going to come back in a different name. And I came back in a different name. Cory Booker don't block me. Everybody blocks me. When you start saying, like, I don't care if you think you're everybody's president. We didn't vote for you because you're everybody's president. We voted for you because we thought you were going to deal with these institutions. And then right now, as we speak, you're not on that platform. You're not on MSNBC. They don't give you this space. They give it to Killer Mike. They give it to T.I. T.I. talking about this is Wakanda. This is Wakanda, bro. I couldn't even get into Wakanda in the movie. I mean, real talk. We couldn't get to Wakanda. Now it's all like, I don't want to hear none of that rhetoric.
I think also we have to keep in mind that the George Floyd killing it follows people being inside. 40 million people have lost their jobs. People just don't have nothing to do. But you know what I mean, be at home and follow social media and everything. A lot of people relied heavily on information and media because they needed to know, they were trying to, in terms of navigate exactly what this space is, particularly for Black people, when the narrative in the United States shifted to this coronavirus being, you know, we all need to, you know, brace for this impact, to Black people dying, you know what I'm saying? So I think that we also have to account for that is that there's just a lot of economic factors. People lost it. It's a lot of people lost their jobs. So people don't have jobs. People don't have, and this is across the spectrum. Mm-hmm. They don't have money. People don't have food. People don't know, you know, what the next month. So all of this, you know, squeezed into this social pot of what's going on. And then you have this protest. I also wanted to bring to light as well in this, and then also you have, for me, I'm on social media, but not on social media like that. I would say coronavirus was like the first time where an influencer and what a celebrity had to say did not mean shit. I don't want to hear no Jay-Z or no Beyonce. I don't want to hear people are like, I don't care about them because they're not paying me. They're not putting food. They're not homeschooling with my kids, my badass kids at that. You know what I'm saying? You know what I mean? They're not doing the daily grind. They absolutely have no relevance for me at this time. And so with that, because of this quote unquote, this influence celebrity culture was totally stripped of its relevancy. I think also people began to see America in the bare bones, depleted, deplorable state that it actually is in, right? I just had to say that as well. Okay, but I have a question for y'all. Is I'm just really interested as a Black man, what does it feel like to always be the center of attention in these high profile killings in America?
So to be honest, you know, I didn't really, when I was growing up, you know, I wasn't in a rough area, you know, I wasn't, you know, I didn't really recognize like how much being Black in America was a crime until I really hit roughly like high school. And so when you start seeing, you know, like Trayvon Martin, you know, and how he was taken from us, and it was something so simple as just walking in the neighborhood, you know, that kind of resonate with you, like, man, like, you know, everywhere I go, is that how I'm looked at? You know, does everybody view me that way everywhere I go? You know, I could go to the gas station, you know, am I seen as, you know, somebody that's going to steal something or burn the place up, you know, in the gas station? Or, you know, it's demoralizing in a sense when you see all of these incidences that, you know, people that look like you, walk like you, talk like you, and it can very easily be you. You know, it's kind of demoralizing in a sense because it's like, dang, what did I do that's so bad where, you know, that's how you see my people, that's how you see me. So, you know, just always having that target on your back, it's exhausting. And I actually had a talk with my parents, and it was just kind of like, you know, for some reason, 2020 has just been an extremely mentally and even physically exhausting year, just with the coronavirus and, you know, people, you know, not having, you know, the income, being able to, you know, some people that's living paycheck to paycheck, they can't even do that now. You know, you know, the conditions is just so hard. And then you have, you know, brother George Floyd, you know, taking the way he was, and it's just like, what next? You know? And so it's just tough, man. Like, being Black in America, whether you're a Black man or a Black woman, is extremely tough. And then situations like this just remind you, like, dang, man, like I could leave out the house and get a soda. You know, you got that one person that got an inferiority complex, you know, that's just gonna target you for whatever. And, you know, it's just always having that target on your back is just, you know, that's a lot. That's a big weight to carry, man. It is. So it's tough. You know, I would say it's tough.
Yeah, I also saw a lot of just black men in tears. You know, it was like, I'm at a breaking point. You know, I don't know what to do. I don't know, I don't know how to navigate this. I have no answers, as well. I don't know if it was necessarily despair, but as, I'm saying, as a black woman, I'm trying to read it, and I'm trying to understand what it is, because I would say not before, maybe it was when Kobe Bryant died, did I see like this public grieving from black men, a contingency of black men, right? And maybe perhaps it even started with Nipsey Hussle,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And just like black men, so it's like not only are we just kind of dying on the street from the everyday, but then you have, these people who, we have a certain amount of perhaps or high profile, or some level have been quote unquote successful, and they're dying in these very tragic ways, however it is we feel about them, these very tragic ways. So I am asking, like, how do you feel, because you don't even have a lot of space to even talk about how you feel.
I'm glad you brought that up, because and that's one thing that I've been trying to do, is encourage my brothers to get on and even just talk to each other about how we feel, because that's one thing we don't do enough of, because we are so in the midst of the storm all the time. It's almost like we always just trying to survive. Like we pretty much just like trying to make it to the next day. And in that, just trying to make it to the next day, we don't even stop to take our own mental evaluation of how we're feeling. And in these past few weeks, I've been really mentally exhausted, to the point where some days I was like, I have to unplug. I have to, because I feel it wearing on me, but I also feel it's going to wear on my family. I have 2 daughters. They trying to live life and they trying to have fun. And I'm sitting here sick and sad. So I had to figure out a way to try to balance that. Like, okay, I need to go play with my daughters and play with my kids and find some happiness in the midst of all of this chaos, in the midst of all of this grief. I think we still need to find a way, because we need to continue to humanize ourselves. That's, you know what I mean? Like, no, because as much as the world dehumanizes us and demonizes, we need to try to continue to humanize ourselves within our own circles, within our own families, and be there for each other, just to be an ear, so we can be just mentally capable and have the capacity to continue to try to go out and protest, the mental capacity to try to continue to know that we have a target on our back, and go out every day. And, because you hear certain things and they make me live it. Like when people say, well, you need to be, educated. I'm like, you can't educate yourself out of racism. And I think that's what people don't understand. Like when a cop come up to me, they don't see degrees. They're not going to get a chance to see degrees. They don't get a chance to see that I'm a father. They don't get a chance to see that I'm a brother. You know what I mean? Like they don't get a chance to see those things about me. So we need to stop trying to put the onus on us for our optics to look a certain way, because it don't matter what we do. It's them that's the problem. But for so long, we've been holding the brunt of that, trying to be like, well, maybe if I wear glasses or I wear a tie, they won't treat me like this. Or maybe, like we trying to do all the things to outsmart racism, but you can't, because it's not us committing the racist acts. So at this point, like, and going back to the looting, when they were talking about the looting and the burning, I was like, yo, at this point, the biggest reason that people would make for not looting and burning, they would say, this is why they look at us as animals. I said, no, that's bullshit. They look at us as animals before this. Otherwise, we wouldn't have got to the point where we were looting and burning. Like they look at us like animals, because they kill us in the street like animals already before this. They hung black people who were in suits in the 60s and in the 40s and the 20s. All those people were lynched. They were suited and booted, looked nice, respectable, had store owners, had business owners. None of that mattered. So I don't know what happened when that shift came, where black people started blaming ourselves for our own oppression and started blaming ourselves for our own demise. But now I'm like, at this point, damn the optics, damn not burning and looting, because we don't want to look a certain way to them, because we're going to look like that to them anyway. Tear this shit down. It's time to make a move. And because I feel like power is not given. Nobody gives you, you can't protest, you can't peacefully protest your way into a different power dynamic. You just can't. It's not going to happen. And if you show me in the history of all history, any dynasty, any time that something happens, if you can show me where that power was taken peacefully, my man is back, Africa is back. If you can show me any time in history where power was given peacefully, I'll give you your favorite kind of cookie, because it ain't happened. You know what I mean? So I think we need to just be more vigilant in understanding how history works. And I say this all the time, this country only understands two languages, money and violence. So we either gonna hit them through money or we're gonna hit them through violence. And it just so happens that this time with the protests, with the riots, we hit them both times at the same time, because that target in Minnesota wasn't in the black neighborhood, right? All the stuff they hit out here in Santa Monica, hitting the Mercedes-Benz in Santa Monica, that wasn't in the hood. So it's like the violence along with the financial aspect that was hurting them and hurting their pockets made them want to jump up and say, okay, we need to do something. It's really bad, because they done got into our neighborhoods and it's hurting us economically. So I think those are the things that we kind of got to keep in mind. Just in the midst of all of this and us being the target, we have to realize no matter what us being the target, we are not the reason we are the target. We got to stop putting the onus on us. They are the reason we are the target, not us.
And just real quick, just to kind of piggyback off that, like you and Dame in Africa, I respect y'all tremendously, because y'all are fathers trying to navigate through all of this.
And Africa is going to get back on. He messaged me and said he keeps getting kicked off. That's why.
Okay. So yeah, I respect y'all, because y'all are, fathers trying to maneuver through all of this and still, it's like you got to be a superhero or superhuman, like you got to maneuver through all this, and then you still got to show up and represent, like, this is what we got to do, as a people, and I'm trying to create a better tomorrow for my daughters that are growing up, and I still got to compartmentalize this trauma I'm feeling, but then I got to swallow it because of my daughter looking at me, she want to play, and I got to give her some type of a childhood. It's like all these different things, and my brother, he just became a father, he's going to be having a daughter in November. And so, talking to him, it's my blood brother and it's my frat brother, talking to him, it's just, I can just see like how much, these situations are like making his wheels turn, because it's like, dang, it's like, when we was growing up, we didn't hear about, somebody like Trayvon Martin being killed, or somebody like George Floyd being killed, we didn't hear about it like that. But now, you're trying to bring up somebody that's, going to be seeing this stuff repeatedly on the news, and it's just it's a tough thing to try to do. And I respect it, man, because I've had days where I've struggled just myself, trying to keep myself in check, not even taking into account you got a whole family that you're raising. And so that's just an additional layer on top of all of this mess that people of color have to deal with, and it's that's just a whole another level of just toughness, man. So hats off to y'all, man. I respect y'all tremendously for that. I just had to just throw that out there.
Appreciate that, man. Appreciate that,
Andre. But I would also like to say most people will not get out on the streets and protest. So by you doing that is huge.
Amen.
It is dangerous. I mean, it is dangerous. I heard you're in Charlotte. I heard at least 2 days that peaceful protests got crazy, and the police started wilding out on, on the people that were involved. So it is very dangerous to do that. I just wanted to respond what you were saying. One of the things I would like for us to be moving forward is to be more intentional about us remembering our history, because it was not too long ago that the police were picking off protesters, Black Panther Party, civil rights, left and right. People were dying. They were killing college students and everything. But somewhere along the line, our history became this quote unquote non-violent protest that King did. And I talked to a pastor, but he's also a professor. He said those protests were not nonviolent. I can show you the photos. People's head were getting bashed out, blood everywhere, women getting dragged by the hair, people getting spat on, dogs attacked. That wasn't nonviolent.
Right.
You know, and I remember years ago, I was speaking to, I interviewed Elaine Brown. Elaine Brown was the first, like, I think maybe the only woman who was the chair for the Black Panther Party when Huey P. Newton, one of the times in which he was locked up. And so at the time, it's so ironic, she was running for mayor of Brunswick, Georgia. Brunswick, Georgia is the city that Ahmaud Arbery was killed, but this was years ago. And she was talking about the systemic racism then. And she was saying how it's a port town and it's actually very, very rich. And that actually is a port where a lot of African people were brought in. That was just a side historical note. But we got into this whole conversation about MLK. And she said, you know, in the next 25 years, the way that they're sanitizing MLK, he's going to be a white woman with blue eyes and blonde hair.
Yeah,
and that sanitization of King has led to the sanitization of us understanding our history. Oh, we got him. He's coming. Wordplay is in. our wordplay. What it do?
There we go. Thank you, King.
Yes,
Thank
sir.
you, Queen. What's the deal? Forgive my lateness. My sincerest apologies. How y'all doing?
Hey man.
All right, that's okay.
Well, you told me you were going to be protesting in Los Angeles. Maybe this is a good time to kind of stop. And for those who have been demonstrating, could you give us what the on the ground energy is? We'll start with you, Africa and Newark.
Truthfully, to be sincere, it's a lot of people showing up, but they really don't know.
Stand while they're out there. They just showing up to just show support, more support. There's really no organizing. To be sincere, I mean, it's a lot of people outside. Everybody's coming out to come protest. Everybody's talking about it, but there are no institutions to show them how to make change.
Well, I was going to ask you, Andre, what's up in North Carolina, Charlotte?
So I mean, in Charlotte, I can say it for the first couple of waves. You had two sides. You had your peaceful side, you know, that came out during the day, you know, and then you had the side that was, you know, ready to, you know, F some stuff up, you know, that would come out about 7:30, 8 o'clock, you know. So I mean, it's the energy is there. You know, there's people that, you know, that want to be out there. They want to be seen. You know, they kind of, you know, they kind of want to be a part of the movement. You got people that, you know, are actually trying to make some change. You know, they're making power moves behind the scenes. You know, they're trying to contact, you know, legislators and things of that nature as well too. But just as far as the energy, you know, when you're actually out there, you know, it's a mixture. You got people that are, you know, just downright pissed off. You got people that are like just tired, you know, and they're just there like, you know, make the change, like please, like, because we can't survive no more of this. And then you got people that are kind of new, you know, that are kind of like, I'm not really sure exactly 100% everything that's going on, but I know what I'm seeing is wrong. I want to get involved somehow, some way. So there's a lot of different, you know, factors and a lot of different things that are kind of going on. But overall, I would say it's positive. It's a positive energy just in this area, as far as just making sure some noise is made overall.
So wordplay, what's going on in LA? What's the on the ground energy?
I've been out here since the beginning of it. I can say that there's been a evident transition from the first day to even last night with the crowd, the energy with them, the police presence, their energy. And I'll say the first day I went out there, which was one of the first, like the beginning of the protests, I won't call them riots, just because I feel like this country's been rioting on everyone since its birth. So I feel like that part of the protest is important. I'm not going to condemn it. I'm not going to advocate it. It just is what it is. And I think expression, can't tell a person who's been oppressed for centuries how to express themselves. Now the issue comes, which is what I saw to an extent. Some of these people who were inciting this less sophisticated form of expression were non-black, and that's the issue. That is the issue. You have non-black individuals who come out here pushing self-prophesied agendas, and that muffles what we're trying to do. It muffles what we're working to do, not trying, what we're actually doing, and it muffles the narrative, and it sort of alters the narrative. But I can say there's a lot of different groups of people out here, and not just groups of people, meaning, but different groups, different black people with different groups around, even in the same city. We were in, where we at, West Hollywood yesterday, and then made our way up to Beverly Hills. And just in that area, you see there's so many different groups that end up coming together, and then forms a larger group. Excuse me. The first day I was out there was definitely it was crazy. It was crazy. It was wild. It wasn't as organized as it's gotten. But again, that was the beginning of this entire ordeal. You got cop cars burning. I'm looking I'm right in front of it. It's cops being punched in their face. I'm right in front of it. And they're running. I ain't never seen nothing like that. I'm born and raised in Compton. I ain't never seen police getting beat up and running. I'm feeling good. I'm gonna be honest with you. I'm feeling like, oh yeah, this is the revolution. People breaking out the windows, stomping up. I'm like, it's going up. I'm loving it. I'm gonna be real. I'm loving it. Now, not to confuse that with, I don't advocate for violence. I don't. But again, when you're oppressed for this long, you can't tell a person how to express themselves. And how dare you have the temerity to sit here and speak about violence when all you do is violate individuals? How dare you speak about violence? Violence, violence, violence. This country was bred and built on violence. I'm gonna calm down now. So what I will say in regards to what's happening on the ground now, it's reeled in. You have officers falling back. You got the National Guard out here, which I think is very weird, walking around with M4s, these weapons that are supposed to be, from my knowledge, meant for terrorists across enemy lines. How dare you unleash this country? That's sick, and that's treason. Right now, it's been going great. Progress is being made. I feel like we are right in the middle of the revolution we've been talking about since before Martin Luther King, and it's unprecedented. The things that are taking place right now is unprecedented, and it's something that we will remember forever, and we have to continue to push forward how we've been pushing forward, because we're getting a lot closer.
Okay, you got knocked off. Wordplay, but we're gonna thank you for joining us. I thank you for that on the ground report, because they don't show you a police getting two-pieced in a biscuit and running. They don't show you that on the news. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Ark Republic exclusive. Police getting their ass beat in LA.
So I'm gonna try to make things as concise as possible. One thing I want to say about how my man Wordplay, I appreciate you giving us the view from the ground. One thing I will say about that situation too, me and my brother was talking about this. This is another thing that's really different in this country, is that veil of fear that police had over us, where we didn't want to move, where we didn't want to make moves against them. That shit is gone. And I don't know if you can put that back in the can. That fear they had over black people of like not speaking back and not fighting back. I think because the George Floyd thing was so atrocious, and you wanted, if you were there, you wanted to go push that cop off yourself. I feel like we had a place where, that's not gonna, happen again. Shout out to that. Because I think that's one of the first things that was needed to really start the revolution, was to remove that veil of fear from black people, of feeling like if I just speak up, police gonna get me. If I just, go out there with my people and protest, the police gonna get me. Now it's like the police probably gonna get me, but we about to go out there and do it anyway. And that attitude change alone changes so much in regards to the way we move, the next, the steps we take going forward in the movement, because you have removed that veil of fear from so many across America. So many Black people have been watching and have been out there on the streets themselves to say, okay, we got to make moves, and this is how we're going to do it. So I want to go around. I'm going to start with you, Andre. Looking at what these, protests have been doing, do you think this is going to have impact from now until November on the presidential cycle? And what do you think that impact is going to look like? Because I think this changes a few things, but I want to hear from you guys first.
Absolutely. I think it's going to have impact, and it is my sincerest hope that, we don't take our foot off the gas pedal. The only fear I have is fear of complacency, as far as, okay, the officers involved got charged, we got what we wanted, and you go back to life as usual. I sincerely pray and hope that the momentum that we have, and we've seen just how much disruption we can cause via social media. And, when you just go out and essentially do, like you said, what white America has been doing since its inception, which is, looting, burning, rioting. Okay, well, that's y'all form of protest. So it's okay when y'all do it, but when we do it, we're called animals and thugs, and, but I really think this is going to change what happens in November. I really feel like you have a lot more younger generation that are seeing what's happening, and it's forcing them to kind of do an introspective look as far as what's really going on, what are the issues, and the people that are, quote unquote, representing the country, where do they stand on these issues? Are they inciting these issues that are causing the problems that we have today, or are they going to actually do something to be a change agent to prevent these things from happening? And once they kind of do that evaluation, that will inform them as far as what they decide to do with their vote. Some people vote because their parents voted this way such and such many years ago, and they don't research. I feel like these events should be, the catalyst for saying, let me do my own research for who I decide I want to, in some sense, represent me. And if this doesn't do it, if these chain of events don't do it, I don't know what will. I honestly don't. Like we all said earlier, this has been the first time where all 50 states in the nation have agreed on something.
Yeah.
And it just happened. And it just so happened to be a Black man that got murdered wrongly.
Yeah.
They agree on that. How ironic, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
yeah.
if this doesn't do it,
what about you, Brother Africa? What do you think this will change in the landscape going forward? Just about the election.
I can be only sincere, man. We have Trump and we have Biden, the architect of mass incarceration. So whatever change comes, those are your two options. Both of them is a slaughterhouse. So like, it may not be Klobuchar as the vice president, but you may get Kamala Harris. Like, I don't see no progress from none of that. I just see the same old thing, the same old thing going on till somebody get killed next year or the year after that, and we all come out again and do the same song and dance routine. Right now, as we're watching our TVs and watching what's going on, the message is being hijacked. I'm gonna say it again. The message is being, that protest, the stuff you're seeing, everybody singing Kumbaya, all of that, those are just mobilizations. Those are not systematic things that changes our day-to-day lives. When we still go out tomorrow, when all of this is done, nothing has been done to change how police, how they deal with our communities. None of that. The incentive has not changed. We live under a capitalistic umbrella, and we are the undesirables that have to be exploited for others to be rich. They control the means of production. On that basic level, those who control the means of production are still going to control the means of production. I don't mean to sound all gloomy like the bad guy, but it is what it is. And as a sociologist, all I study from is the data that I'm provided with. After this, there's going to be another one, because we still haven't dealt with the foundation of why they're killing us in the street, why they're lynching us, why they need to remove us from society. Why do you need to have all black people locked up? Why does the jail cell have to be 60%, 70, 80% black people? There's a reason for that. Why is it only black men that you could just shoot in the back while they're running away? And it's okay, like people go right and nothing happened. There's a reason for that. They're not just doing it because it's fun for them to do. These laws are just not fun. It's a system since we got here as slaves to take away the man from the home, to take away the black man from the community and make it weaker. I mean, this is not a conspiracy theory. This is sociologically how you break down a people, how you destroy a people. I heard Kanye talking earlier about a friend saying they're going to whitewash Martin Luther King in 20 years. And the soul of black people will be dead in 50 years. There will be no Afrocentrism. The way things are going right now, the little stuff that we do know from Afrocentric scholars, all of that will be dead in 50 years. Because this is not repeated in our schools. People are not learning these things. There's no Malcolm, Martin, Baldwin out there speaking. All these, I challenge you right now to name one figure that we all know that's out there speaking that really cares about black people. That is genuinely cares about black people and is not in the religious cult. I mean, like, serious, this thing back. There's nobody. Everybody is bought and they're owned by somebody. So if we don't do the institutional stuff to take care of ourselves, none of this is for anything. And you know how people say to ourselves? Every single black person start donating to our cause. Start donating to put institutions in our communities. I will put up $100 a month to a spot, to something that we build on our own schools, our own banks, our own everything. We cannot survive under white supremacy, under the American system. It will not work. I mean, if you keep doing the same thing and you expecting a different outcome, you're an idiot. You're an idiot. You're retarded. You're slow. I mean, we got to keep it 100. We have to change from this system of thinking we're going to be inclusive. They don't want us. We have our capital. We have money. We go to work. We all got to eat. This is a social economic society. We all make money. If we care about black people enough and we're pro-black, start putting money to that. Let's break grounds next school year on building schools in our communities to educate our people. Let's put businesses in there. If we all pull our money together, it can be done. But I see none of that happening with the protests outside because Obama got it, the Democrats got it, and they're all telling you to vote for who? Biden. As if that's going to change our reality. And that is going to do nothing. Listen to them. Listen to them when they put them on that platform. Even Eric Dyson. Yo, he gets on my nerves. He's been making my stomach turn. Yo, I can't believe I love, what's his name? Don Lemon from CNN. I used to look at him as Tom from the Boondocks. Whenever I hear him speak, I see Tom from the Boondocks. Yo, I like him now more than I like Eric Dyson. And it says something. All the people that speak for us are co-opted. The message is co-opted, and we end up with nothing. So my brother Andre said, if nothing happens from this, I'm going to be like, flabbergasted. Bro, nothing's going to happen. We got to stay on the ground and keep working. We got to keep organizing, and when they kill the next brother, we use that as a tool to organize. I mean, but we can, in a year, I guarantee you we change our reality if we all pool our money and start building our own institutions. I don't care if we pay taxes. I know we pay taxes, but they don't represent us. They don't. And I'm going to just leave with this. When we were all in the 3rd, 4th grade, they told us we hold this truth to be self-evident. That's the bullshit. That was when white supremacy started. They didn't tell us the sons of bitches who wrote that all have slaves. They didn't tell us none of that rhetoric was for us. Y'all still there?
Yeah, I'm here.
Talk my way out of the damn Charlie Chatham.
No, you froze.
Hey, I want to talk to Wordplay real quick because I see he's actually boots on the ground right now. So, Wordplay, where are you right now? What are we seeing? Because I'm seeing a whole lot of National Guard and all that right in front of you. So, talk to us about that. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, we out here on we right in front of the Laugh Factory. Hold on, let me show you real quick.
Oh, that's Hollywood. That's crazy.
We in West Hollywood. The National Guard was down there. They actually being real respectful, showing love, a lot of respect. Somebody just gave me a flower.
And I want it. You damn right I took it. I want the flower while I'm here.
But yeah, man, it's a good vibration down here right now. And I did want to speak on to the effect of what Brother Africa was saying. I gotta disagree with you just on a few points, brother. How you doing, man? There is great change coming from these boots being on the ground. I don't know if you know just yet, but we had a massive agenda to defund the police, and we were right in the mix of watching them receive $1.3 billion. Not only was that canceled, but the governor actually just removed $150 million from that budget and is now going to put that into Black communities throughout Los Angeles. So I have to say that we are definitely making some headways as far as building an infrastructure for Black Americans. That definitely needs to happen to where we are no longer dependent upon a country that may or may not fuck with us by the blink of an eye. So I concur with that 1,000%. But I have to say there is a massive alliance happening, and there is great change coming to the likes of things we've never seen. One, starting with defunding the police, that has never happened. This is we seeing some good things happen, bro, and it shows you how much we can change by coming together. And continuing that, we can most certainly complete the agenda that you were speaking about, which is detaching ourselves from relying on this society and creating our own. So I'm definitely with that 1,000%. 1,000%.
Absolutely. I feel like I understand and I agree with both points, because I know we feel like Biden is more the same. But these are the things that I see changing going forward in regards to the election. It was funny because before I said I didn't think we would have a Black vice president, a Black female vice president, just because all the candidates didn't seem to help Biden in the electoral college in any way, right? If you looked at the numbers, you looked at the statistics and the states that we needed, we already got California, so Kamala's not needed. We already would have had the South, so Stacey Abrams wouldn't have been needed. Klobuchar, she shot herself in the foot by not prosecuting that cop the last time he did something. So I think she's a wrap, because you can't bring her in to be the vice president with Black America. That's not going to work. And I think the last bet would be the governor of Michigan. And I think it's going to be between the governor of Michigan and Kamala, because I've been seeing Kamala out there a lot. And though I really I have a lot of issues with Kamala. I have a lot of issues with Kamala. I have a lot of issues with Biden, of course. I will say, one thing I can say, I know they are a little more progressive, not just Biden, but the people I know that are around them, i.e. Simone Sanders, I forgot who else is that he has around him at the moment, that I feel like will have more of our interests at heart than anybody in Trump's cabinet, at least. And I'm not saying that's a good thing, but like if at this point, if you go from him actively trying to murder us, like Trump is actively trying to hurt us. Trump is actively saying demonstratively, we want governors to deal with our Black American citizens like animals. We want them to go in and dominate. And once the looting starts, the shooting starts, he's making very specific declarations against our life. So I think it's important to make that distinction between him and Biden. Again, I'm not saying Biden is the savior. I'm not saying he's the best choice, but that goes back to our earlier conversation about we need to start running our own candidates too. That's the part that's on us in regards to getting our stuff together, getting our agenda together, getting our ass together for the things that we want. We need to become our own lobbyists. If we are going to participate in this government, we need to become our own lobbyists. And in order to do that, we have to run our own candidates. But I do want to make sure we make the distinction between Trump, who is actively trying to murder us, and Biden, who at worst will be status quo. At best, will make some movement and headway, because he has promised us a Black woman to the Supreme Court. And I don't know how much y'all know, a Black woman in the Supreme Court affects us adversely, especially since we might be, God forbid, Ruth Bader Ginsburg is not going to be there that long. If we go to having a 7-2, not just conservative Supreme Court, a 7-2 conservative Trump Supreme Court, something different that's going to touch us for 40 years down the line. So that's kind of the last thing I wanted to say on it. I'll pitch it back to you, Kai, and close it however you want to close it.
So I just wanted to just say these things and give you guys a final thoughts.
three things I wrote down is that I think we have to be, I think one of the things I'm learning, it's more even apparent, is that everybody plays a part. We can't be everything, and we have to know and master whatever our part is and be good at it. And we have to trust each other that that person who has that part is playing that part, but hold them accountable too. Because we've lost this idea of holding our own accountable. That's why we have people in office for 30, 40, 50, 60, 70 years. You know what I mean? And they haven't done anything. And I'm still an active voter in Congresswoman Maxine Waters' district in Los Angeles. And so anyway, she talks very well, and you know, reclaiming her time, but she hasn't reclaimed shit in the black goddamn community in LA since crack.
Listen,
you know what I mean?
She's been bought a long time. Well, she's been co-opted a long time ago.
Yeah, and I got a story on that one, but that's not for this one. That's not for this one. I got a story about that one, straight up. So I think another thing is that we need to be clear. We have got to really, really remove ourselves from the savior complex that we are still holding on to. Biden is not going to save us. Kamala is not going to save us. You telling me America's top cop, aka Kamala Harris, and the Don Dada of mass incarceration, aka Biden, with these histories, are not going to save Black America? They're not. You know what I mean? But do they offer a better package? You know, they just put spit on their hands before, you know, it all goes down, I guess. But anyway, but I think we need to really, really mobilize the energy that Brother Wordplay has brought to the conversation. And how do we place pressure on these systems and do it like, you know, and do it in a way that's effective? Because it's not going to, Biden get in office, it's not like, oh, we could all breathe and be well and live here. Because that's what we did with Obama. You remember when Obama got elected?
Oh, yeah.
I remember seeing somebody saying, we're going to get free gas because Obama got elected. It was a Black woman, right? And so Obama got elected, and after those 8 years, Black people are like, what had happened? I don't know what we got. You know what I'm saying? So we have got to, those of us who are not the gatekeepers, actively put pressure on everything.
All the time.
All the time.
All the time.
Final thoughts to y'all, however you want to go.
Let's Andre. Let's hear from Andre.
Final thoughts, man. Really, it's a shame that, you know, we have to unify over something like this, but at the same time, you know, the fact that we're seeing some type of unity within the community and with some others that aren't in the African American community, it is a little bit of hope. But I would say, you know, you got to keep it rolling. You got to keep pushing. You know, it doesn't stop just because, you know, the 4 cops responsible with George Floyd's death got, you know, charges. You know, there's a billion other people, you know, a billion other African American men and women whose killers are still walking free, and we need to make sure that they get their justice as well too. So I really hope that, you know, we're able to make lasting change off of what we've seen in the past few weeks. I hope people can take, you know, a smarter approach to it. You know, start getting stuff into law and legislation. Start making real change, and, you know, just apply the pressure, bring all the smoke, you know, bring it on.
Yes, sir. Wordplay, let's hear from you. Let's give us your word of the minute.
Hey, so point blank period, the pressure that has been applied needs to continue to be applied. We've seen a massive amount of people come together, something we haven't seen. The whole world still with us, not just all 50 states, but the whole world still with us. So that is not to be taken lightly. We do need to re-educate ourselves on Black economics, on the statistics of how to become successful in this country, and how to build our credit, how to repair our family's credit, get them in line, because it's not just us. If we have the education and our family members don't, you know, it's a crab in the barrel mentality. And our family is not just immediate, but every Black person, you know, who walks this country. So it's to do what we know we need to do. Don't forget what you already learned. Don't forget that you figured out the recipe. Don't forget the recipe. We know the recipe. You got you have it. Apply the pressure. Keep applying the pressure, and let's rock and roll, man. We doing it. Let's keep doing it.
Sir, my final thought, first of all, I would be remiss if I didn't thank my sister Kaya for giving us this platform, for Kaya for putting this thing together. We appreciate you. We honor you for this. And I just want to say, like all my brothers have said, including Brother Africa, we have to apply the pressure no matter who's in office, right? No matter who's in office, no matter who's there. And we have to start having our agenda together about the things we want to ask for, about the things we want, the things we need. And then we do have to go and hold them accountable. We have to do a better job of holding those accountable on the city council level, the alderman level, the Senate level. Like, we have to do a better job of holding them accountable at every single level, while also applying pressure outside to build our own economic basis and our own economic structure and start building our own super PAC, so we can do both things. So we can participate in what's going on right now, participate in the system while building our own system. These things have to happen congruently at the same time, so we can make sure that we are doing the things we need to do to pull away and make sure our people will be okay forever. And that's all I got to say. Thank you.
This has
Absolutely.
been so dope. I hope that we can do this again, and I'll totally step away. I love the energy. Y'all, please be safe on these streets. Please be safe on these streets.
Certainly.
Definitely love and respect each and every one of y'all kings. Y'all keep making change.
Yeah, man. Great meeting y'all, man.
And y'all
Sir.
too. Hey, stay dangerous, stay safe.
That's
yes,
right.
sir. Yes, sir. You know it.
And 10 toes down. Push the
Always.
line.
10 toes down.
Always.
Push the line. Pushing the line.
Peace and light. Peace and light.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
All right, y'all.
All right. Peace.